14-2-1. And his opponent, Jimmy Smith, out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And there's a look at Jimmy Smith. His pro record at 16-3, 8 knockouts. He's 28 years of age, and he's trained and managed by Tommy Gallagher.
Well, Mike Costello, a solid puncher with both hands, dedicated worker in the gym, doesn't shun any training. And this could be an interesting fight because Costello doesn't take too many backward steps. And his opponent, Jimmy Smith, well, he fights one way really, and that's coming in. Jimmy Smith, not to be confused with Jimmy Smith, the heavyweight bone crusher Smith.
And this Jimmy Smith has been working out in Pennsylvania, predominantly an East Coast fighter. This is his first appearance at Madison Square Garden. Ed Darian is standing by for the introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for 8 rounds, and it's in a light heavyweight division. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 8-round light heavyweight bout, referee Sam Vodowitz. And now, boxing fans, introducing the principals. First, in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim. He tipped in at 178 1/2 pounds. This gentleman has 16 wins, 3 losses with 8 knockouts. A native of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and now residing here in the Big Apple of New York, as well as the Empire State of New York. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome aboard Jimmy Smith. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the black trunks with the gold trim. He weighed in at 173 1/2 pounds. This young man has 15 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw with 8 knockouts from White Plains, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mike Costello.
I want to remind you that we're under the rules of the New York State Athletic Commission. I obey my commands at all times, okay? In case of a knockdown, I want the man scoring the knockdown to go to the neutral corner. Stay there until I call you back. Watch your low blows, kidney punches, okay? Good luck to both of you guys.
Mike Costello in the black trunks with the gold trim, and Jimmy Smith in the white trunks with the black trim. And here we go, scheduled for 8. Mike Costello formerly lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now living in White Plains, New York. 8 knockouts in 17 professional fights. His amateur record was 26-4. And Jimmy Smith with a fairly impressive pro record, Randy, 16-3, 8 KOs. And he's from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And it says he's living in New York right now. But the question is if Smith is in the shape to battle Costello.
Every time Jimmy Smith talks to reporters, he likes to tell them how hard he trains, but somehow it doesn't look like he lives on the slant board. He has one of those bodies that make it seem as if he hits the refrigerator a little bit more than the heavy bag.
Well, he says he likes the seafood business.
He sees food and he eats it. Oh, that's not nice.
Now, Jimmy says this is a fight for him that's important because if he wins this fight, well, he can go places, and he's hopefully going to do it. He said in the early rounds, up to 5, that is.
Jimmy's got to shorten up on those shots, cranking up the shots to the body.
Jimmy hasn't fought in almost a year, last losing to Donnie Herr in Canada. This is his first fight of 1986.
Smith just cranked up on the right hand as if to say to Costello, here it comes. Now those body shots by Smith were a lot better. Smith putting some bad intentions on those body shots.
Mike Costello with different handlers right now. He says, my new trainer showed me my bad habits. I used to be off balance. In terms of leverage, it was poor. And I used to say, let me take it on the chin. Now I'm a little bit smarter. That's kind of interesting. Oh, Smith throwing Costello against the ropes and being warned by Sam Birouette.
He looked at the ref and said, "What did I do?"
Costello throwing a pretty good right hand.
So what's happening right now, Costello is really not a sloppy fighter. And he's in there with a guy who's a bit unorthodox and is likely to do anything.
Who's more of a brawler.
And when you dance with a guy who can't dance, or the partner who can't dance, you tend to look a little bit sloppy yourself.
Smith doing a lot of grabbing to the back of Costello's head in this first round. Good body. This is professional boxing from the Felt Forum in Madison Square Garden. Second round scheduled for 8 light heavyweights. Jimmy Smith and Mike Costello. Costello in the dark trunks and Smith in the light trunks. And not much happening in that first round with a lot of clutching and grabbing. See if Mike Costello gets down to business here in round number 2. This is his first fight of 1986. His last fight in October of 85, he was knocked out by Arthur Bayless in Atlantic City. And prior to that, 1-2 in Atlantic City.
Well, he was stopped. There was a technical knockout. It goes in the books as a KO5. But he was stopped on his feet. Fighters will always be quick to tell you, no, I didn't get knocked out.
You're right. Never knocked down as a pro.
I'm not sure. On 2 occasions, when the two of them were separated and a little bit of room between them, Jimmy Smith started barking at Costello.
Yeah, he's been in there rather close. Oh, good right hand landed by Costello. Costello, who's been accepted to a culinary school, speaking of food, and he may very well be enrolling in October. He doesn't want to be a journeyman fighter, which I respect, because so many fighters will say, my dream is to be the champion, and don't maybe have the realization that it may not happen.
It's so true. So many fighters hang around with that dream, but he feels he can be a champion. And he says as soon as he feels it, as soon as his trainers and handlers tell him, listen, you're just not going to make it, he said, I'll pack it in.
Costello is managed by Paul Corvino and trained by Herschel Jacobs and Sharkey.
You're talking about 2 veterans right there. Something like 100 years in the game combined.
Jimmy Smith looking to do some slugging, staying inside, landing the right hand. Didn't have much sting to it, though, although it did land in the top of Costello's head. "40 seconds or so in this second round.
Early in the round, Smith barked a few times at Costello. There's been no more barking. Obviously, the bark worse than the bite.
Costello snuck in the left hand. Oh, there's a good left hand by Mike Costello. Smith coming back as we wind down in round number 2. Round number 3. A pair of light heavyweights, Mike Costello and Jimmy Smith. Smith fighting the fight that he wanted to on the inside, trying to get Costello into a brawl. Has not landed very many punches, though, in the first 2 rounds. Costello, whose brother Joe played with the Jacksonville Bulls for 3 years, and he just signed with the Cleveland Browns of the NFL as a linebacker. And Mike played some football at Stratford High School in Connecticut. He's going to need that football experience in this brawl-like fight.
And you can see those strong legs of Costello pulling Smith into the ropes. Costello got his finest work as a professional when he sparred with marvelous Marvin Hagler a few years ago when Hagler prepared for the Juan Roldan fight.
Costello against the ropes, swinging and scoring occasionally. Smith staying inside, but he has not landed too many punches. Costello with the straight left. And he landed again with a solid jab.
Jimmy Smith has stopped brawling and allowed himself to be pulled against the ropes. This is Costello's finest round so far.
Still coming up tonight, our co-feature, scheduled for 10 welterweights, Pedro Valleja and Floyd Peavy. Peavy 13-1, Valleja 18-4-1. And the former NABF welterweight champion. And then our feature of the evening, scheduled for 12, junior featherweights, Louis Espinosa, a protege of Ray Boom Boom Mancini. 19-1 with 14 KOs against the KO Kid, the small, the diminutive, the fiery Carmelo Negron. 19-6 with 19 KOs. That's still ahead of us tonight. And Smith landing his best punches of the fight here in the third round. Winding down to this third round. Professional boxing is coming to you from Madison Square Garden's Felt Forum. Well, it's May 15th at the Felt Forum, the much anticipated return of five-time Golden Gloves champion Mark Freeland as he meets Ricky Avedeno
out of Texas, a tough, straight-ahead guy who promises to brawl with Breland. It could be a quick one.
And also, New York State Junior Lightweight Championship scheduled for 12, and that should be another one.
Gino Gellermino, the Billy Joel lookalike, is the Christy Brinkley on hand against Paul Divorce. Should give him a real good fight. That is a class matchup. And just to get a look at Breland.
Tickets are available at the Madison Square Garden box office for that fight on Thursday, May 15th. Freeland back at the Felt Forum. Eight rounds, light heavyweight. We move to the fourth round. And Jimmy Smith with a good flurry near the end of the third round. And here comes Costello firing out of his corner in the fourth, but Smith starting to land a little bit more effectively.
Surprisingly, Jimmy has stopped brawling, which is really his forte. Jimmy has made some progress from a few years ago when he was just a wild barroom kind of brawler.
I think the point you're making, too, his experience has been the most noteworthy of his boxing ability tonight, because he's buying rounds by staying inside and trying to land his right occasionally.
You got to give Smith credit. We make a little bit of fun of his soft midsection. Maybe that's just the way he's built. But he wasn't blessed with blazing speed or crushing power. But he was given a lot of heart.
And he didn't start fighting till he was 20. He had no amateur record. So he was very much a late bloomer.
And that makes it even more incredible to be a professional fighter with no amateur fights. Not too many guys are successful like that. Dwight Cowie, the cruiserweight champion, of course, was one guy who went all the way without any amateur fights. That's the exception rather than the rule, of course.
Well, he's 28 years of age, and I put the greater and equal sign there, 28 years or older.
Had a problem with that. At the weigh-in, he wasn't exactly firm on his age. And you weren't about to challenge him to... I want to see your birth certificate.
No, I'm a little bit...
I wanted to see you get tougher.
Reserved about making statements like that in front of a 178.5-pound fighter. Fifth round, Costello staying inside. Do you feel that Costello should open up his game a little bit here?
I think Costello's doing what he wants to do on the inside. He keeps looking over to his corner. to Kid Sharkey and to Herschel Jacobs. And they liked when he stays on the inside. They want him throwing some more uppercuts though, and he just did.
Costello landing the right hand. He's a pressure fighter, can box when he has to when someone's stronger. Winding down in round number 4. It's been a clutch and grab inside type bout. 5th round scheduled for 8. Jimmy Smith in the light trunks with the dark trim, and Mike Costello in the dark trunks with the gold trim. And the fighters opening up here in the 5th round.
That jab of Costello 3 times in a row, jolting the head of Jimmy Smith.
Oh, a scoring left hand by Mike Costello.
Mike Costello in the dark trunks. The man in the light, James, I'm not Bone Crusher Smith.
Costello connecting with the right hand, showing an uppercut. Smith staying inside, trying to score with the jab. Costello doing pretty good defensive work. Keeps those gloves high, blocking a lot of punches thrown by Smith.
You can see some exhaustion on the face of Jimmy Smith, but he's got so much heart that he keeps launching those shots. That right hand of his is still dangerous. These guys are using the 8-ounce thumbless gloves made by Everlast.
Smith has him in the corner, but is unable to unleash some punches, and those punches aren't hurting at all. Very little power in that right hand, and there's a scoring left again by Mike Costello.
And he came back with a right uppercut. Costello putting those punches together. Kid Sharkey and Herschel Jacobs looking at him, shaking it. They're happy with what they see. They're shaking their head affirmatively. Look at the face of Smith. He's tired.
Oh, good left. Good scoring right hand by Mike Costello.
Oh, at this point in the fight, Smith, who had to lose some pounds today at the weigh-in, those legs feel like they've been unscrewed and filled with liquid lead. They are heavy.
He wanted to buy some rounds. He has bought some rounds. He's made it to the 5th. And he was well aware that if he couldn't end it in the 5th, he could go in the 5th. And now Mike Costello, who's fought a very steady, very conservative fight, is starting to wear down his opponent. By far the best round of the night for Mike Costello. You're watching professional boxing from Madison Square Garden's Felt Forum. 6th round, and Jimmy Smith stayed in that corner to the very last second, trying to catch his breath. Costello comes out like a swinging wild man after his best round of the night, the 5th. Smith is tired and a little bit wobbly. Costello is no spruce chicken, but he is beginning to show less fatigue, or should I say Smith is showing more fatigue. I would think that's the way to correctly analyze it.
Both terms are right, I think. And at this point, I think Smith is thinking to himself, why didn't I run that day it was raining? You know, the tendency sometimes you wake up, it's cold outside, it's drizzly, whatever. You pull the covers back over your head. And I think Smith did that on some days.
Well, that's where the word discipline is correlated to a fighter that is a winner and that is in shape. Oh, good left hand right on the bridge of the nose. And Mike Costello ducking out of the corner, ducking again. He's really fought defensively extremely well. And that's something you don't really talk about too much.
Well, there's nothing like self-preservation, you know. Sugar Ray Leonard used to talk about it all the time. He did it with two of the best legs in the history of boxing. And hand speed and power and heart. It all adds up. And right now, what Jimmy Smith is fighting on is heart. Virtually nothing else.
Mike Costello, 26-4 as an amateur. Started boxing at age 16. He's now 24. His pro record, 14-2-1, 8 knockouts. This is his first fight of this year. And actually, in 1983 and 84, only fought once during a stretch of about 16 months because he was sparring with Marvin Hagler and also had a shoulder injury. Now he is back and healthy.
Smith just planting those feet, launching the shots. Still some zip on the shots. Especially the right hand of Smith.
Snuck in the right hand of Mike Costello. Winding down the sixth, as Smith scoring on a body blow. And taking a couple shots to the head. Winding down in the sixth round. Jimmy Smith ready for round number 7. Mike Costello has dictated the last couple of rounds. And again, scoring with his jab. Jimmy Smith, who was concerned about the shape he was in, has already made it to the 7th. That's an accomplishment in itself.
It certainly is. And while I have Costello winning most of the rounds of this fight, Smith is doing enough to keep every round close.
Oh, that was a score right to the head of Smith as you saw perspiration come flying off his head. There's a body blow by Jimmy Smith.
That was a nice body dig with the right hand.
Smith is leaning forward so much now that some of these straight punches thrown by Costello are hitting Smith in the top of the head. Smith staying inside, showing his years of experience and hanging in there. And as Randy said, staying close.
Oh, the head's cracked that time. Nobody's bleeding there.
And after the head's cracked, good follow left hand by Michael Costello.
Round number 7, and these guys have been at it like this all night long.
You could have joined us in any round, and you probably would have seen the same.
That time there was no argument on it. He hit on the break, and now there's some tape loose from the left glove of Mike Costello. I think the fight might have to be stopped for a moment. When that tape gets wet, a lot of times it comes loose. It acts as a whip.
Oh, good left hand following the combination by Costello. Costello keeping those hands up, hands high throughout the fight.
Entertaining battle. Smith is really making this an entertaining one.
And Smith yelling to the referee about the tape.
He's absolutely right.
And he will get himself a little bit of a breather, which is something I believe he wants.
Sam Virouette, the referee, really didn't see that tape there. Smith did. He felt it on his face like a whip.
Now the clock will restart, and in-house, so did Mike Costello. He started with a bang. Costello with a hard right hand to the face of Smith. And really upset about something. Costello is fighting with a little bit more anger than he had earlier on. Oh, a solid right hand. As the bell sounds, ending round number 7. Still one more round to go. And Mike Costello, Randy, after the tape had to be fixed up a little bit, after the tape was repaired around the glove, came out with a vengeance.
And he took it out of the face of that man, Jimmy Smith, who has acquitted himself very nicely, just doing about as fine a job as he can.
Come on, Jimmy, listen to him, man. Come on.
And at the end of round number 7, you see Costello lean into this right hand, and Smith took it well. He's got a real good chin. And then we look into the corner of Mike Costello.
Count him off. Run him off, man.
Getting a talking
Sit down. Stay on the
Jake, light heavyweight, the man who ended the career of former light heavyweight champion, Harold Johnson. And Jimmy Smith with a final deep breath there.
He's only got 3 minutes to complete this fight. 8th and final round. Jimmy Smith.
Touched thumbless gloves, and here we go.
And Michael Costello. Costello with the black trunks and the gold trim, and Jimmy Smith with the white trunks with the black stripe. Costello really uncorking that.
Well, the left hand first, that got in, but it was that right hand which Costello leaned on, and now Costello is throwing grenades with every shot.
And he's unhappy. He's very unhappy about it. I believe Smith going to the referee. Now blood beginning to pour just over the eye of Jimmy Smith.
I believe it was that right hand which landed flush on the eye. I did not see a headbutt in there.
I thought that Costello was a little bit unhappy that Smith was trying to buy a little bit of time with the tape on the glove, and since then he has come out and he has not liked his opponent at all.
Well, Jimmy Smith is totally right in doing that. That tape, you don't need a whip coming in your face. You've got enough problem with the leather.
Costello now like a bull, putting the head down.
Jimmy Smith has taken enough headshots tonight. After this fight, if you gave him a cold beer, I think he'd just take the mug and put it on his face.
Sam Pirouette keeping a close eye on that eye of Smith, and that is it. The fight has been ended here in the 8th round. Mike Costello.
Oh, you got to feel for Smith. He's gone this far. To have an injury like that stop the fight so close to the end, I seriously doubt he would have won the fight.
And so Mike Costello wearing down Jimmy Smith from the 5th round on, fighting gainfully in the 7th, and then in the 8th, scoring the technical knockout and stopping Jimmy Smith.
Well, it was in that final round, Smith with the hands, look where they were, look especially where that left hand was. The left hook partially got in, but that right hand exploded on the face of Jimmy Smith, and then Costello started to step up the pace, setting himself, launching every single punch. And the cut, too severe, so felt the referee, Sam Pirouette, puts his arms around the beaten fighter and called it a night.
So Mike Costello recording his 9th knockout and improving his record to 15-2-1. And not a bad way to start the year, 1986. Jimmy Smith, as we mentioned earlier, a little concerned about his shape, but has to feel good about going into the 8th and being in the fight.
Certainly does, especially having to lose a few pounds today at the weigh-in, and he could be in better shape. He can't be too discouraged tonight.
Well, he used his smarts, that's for sure, and he used it effectively. Ed Darius standing by.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Sam Pirouette stops this bout at 1 minute and 33 seconds of the 8th round, and a winner by a TKO, Mike Costello. Costello. And what do you say, my good friends? A nice round of applause for Jimmy Smith. Let's hear it go. Costello, please.
And so record the victory for Mike Costello in the light heavyweight bout tonight. A minute 33 of the 8th and final round. And coming up next, we've got welterweights, feature tonight, Pedro Valleja and Floyd Peavy. That's coming up next.